Well, thank you everyone for joining. My name is Julian Freja. I lead our partnerships team at Ownwell, and today we are going to chat about property tax appeals, um, specifically in Texas. It is the tax season in Texas, and a lot of homeowners that are on this call and listening, maybe now receiving new assessments. And we here at Ownwell, we help homeowners save on their taxes by lowering their assessed values. So we're going to share a little bit about, what we do, why it's important for you as a homeowner, how you can take advantage of our service, and do a little bit of Q&A at the end as well. Um, I'm accompanied by Sam Sosa on the call, who's going to take over towards the second half of the quick presentation. And he is an experienced property tax consultant, has many years of tax experience and knows the ins and outs of the business. So he's going to be sharing his wisdom and tips and tricks with everyone here on the call. But to
And
yeah,
Julian, I was gonna let you know, Travis County just released their values today, it looked like. So all three counties, Williamson, Hayes, and Travis, you should be able to look it up now for the people watching.
yes, yes, absolutely, yeah. Feel free to take a look at the assessed values. You can always go on ownwell.com and take a look at what the estimated savings might be. We just need a property address for that. But yeah, so to get started here, whoops, you know, we're really tackling a big problem here in that, more almost half of homeowners overpay on their property taxes today. Um, and almost 90%, over 90%, make no attempt to save. So there's this myth that, taxes are fixed, you cannot contest or lower your taxes in any way. It's set by the government. And that's simply not true. Every homeowner has the ability to contest and try to lower their taxes by saying, "Hey, I don't think my property is worth this much. I have evidence to support that it's worth less, and therefore I should be taxed less." And so every county and every state has their own process. Ownwell operates in 7 states today, with Texas being our largest key market. And we're going to show you a little bit, what that process looks like and how to take advantage. And when you think about, just the macro environment that we're in today, uh, home affordability is at record lows, and the cost of homeownership across your mortgage, interest rates, insurance, and especially taxes in recent years have really been skyrocketing compared to, before the pandemic. So if you just look at from 2020 to the present day, over 20% increase in property tax payments. And if you're escrowing with your mortgage company, you're likely seeing an even larger increase when you bundle that in with your insurance payments. And so, what is the tax appeal process? What does it entail at a very high level? Essentially, you're presenting evidence and data to your county's board to say, hey, based on all of this data, based on these sales, and uh, this new information on my property, I believe my property is worth less. And so any homeowner really has the ability to manage this process on their own. Um, it's an option for them. Uh, but many folks don't necessarily have the time or the will to take that task on. Ownwell, we encourage anyone to do it on their own if they can, but Ownwell's here to really support and provide a seamless digital experience for folks that um, that need help or that just simply don't have the time with, life and family matters to attend to. So it's a very simple process. We have a 2-minute sign up flow on our website, and we ask that you sign an authorization form that essentially allows Ownwell to uh, act as your tax consultant and negotiate your assessment directly with the county on your behalf. And so once you sign that form, you really get to sit back and relax and let Ownwell do um, all of the work, all the data collection, all of the appeal filing, and negotiating.
And Julian, I just want to add in for anybody who's here. I've actually done both methods myself, and we can definitely help you if you want to do it on your own. We're partnering with Ownwell here because it is truly a much simpler process just for time commitment. Doing it on your own, you're probably looking about 3 to 5 hours total, not all at once, but just based on personal experience. And if you guys have any questions, there's that Q&A button on the bottom. Please go ahead and throw those in there.
Great.
All right, that's it,
Um,
Julian.
Yeah, I did see a question come through from Nick here. Um, we do have a customer care team, so our phone number's on our website. We are pretty quick with picking up and helping anybody through the process if you're having trouble completing it or you inputted a wrong piece of information. So please do call in, and our team will help out with all of that. Um, and so historically, small attorney shops will typically provide this sort of service as an add-on service to their clients. Um, what we've done at Ownwell the past 5 years since we started the company is we've built a digital infrastructure to be able to manage and submit many thousands of appeals. And so we've combined, some technology, some great engineers to build a nice, easy, seamless online experience. And we've also combined that with very experienced, seasoned property tax consultants. Sam on the phone here is one of them. We have a big team that knows their local market inside and out. They reside in their local market, and they use that knowledge and experience to negotiate on your behalf. And so if we just look at, if you're completely new to tax assessments and property tax, or you're a relatively new homeowner, you'll typically get your assessment in Texas around this time of year. Um, you have until May 15th to actually submit an appeal with your county. And so if you just look at some of these data points here, you had an assessment of 425 and a tax bill of 8,400. Um, and the following year it'll likely go up along with the tax bill. But if you do submit an appeal, you'll see that you can actually lower that assessment from 523,000 as a value to 483. And as a result, your final tax bill also decreases from 10,700 here to 9,900. So these are meaningful savings numbers. On average, we're helping homeowners save roughly $1,100 per year in their property tax. If I go to the next page here, so this kind of gives you a sense of the current size and scale of our business. 80%, 86% of our customers receive a tax reduction today. Um, our total assessment reductions has exceeded 10 billion. We have over 400,000 customers and growing quickly. And the average savings per property per customer here is about $1,100. And I should mention here, what does all of this cost? What does it cost to use our service? We operate on a contingency fee basis. That means it's completely free to sign up with Ownwell. And we will only charge a small percentage of any savings that we earn um, on your taxes. So, for example, if we save you $1,000 in your taxes, in Texas, we charge 25% of the savings. And so the contingency fee there would be 250. This is a glimpse of what your client portal will look like. Tax appeals is our core product, but we do offer some additional services that help you reduce your homeowner expenses. So things like filing for your homestead exemptions. Ownwell will help submit the paperwork for that. We have a bill reduction feature. So if you're paying for internet, cable, utilities, security bills um, for your home, if you upload your bill, our team will try to identify any discounts for you and try to reduce those bills as well. Um, and we will handle all of the legwork. We just need that bill, and our team gets to work with trying to identify savings. And for all of these products, we're not charging anything to you up front. We'll only charge that 25% of any savings that we get you. You might be working with an agent or realtor on this call, or have talked to someone. Um, they're well versed in this space as well, so please feel free to use them as support and ask questions. They'll all have their own dedicated referral links, so please make sure to when you're ready, apply through your agent's link.
And we'll have those out to you guys in the following days, along with a link to this recording. So just be on the lookout for that.
Yeah. And this is just a quick glimpse of some of the results that we're seeing in just the Austin and San Antonio areas. You may be in different areas. We do a lot of business really across the whole state, DFW. Um, and you can see here, at least in some of these counties, very high success rates ranging from 96% to 80%. And what that means is, so the right column here is the not the tax savings amount, but the reduction in the assessed value. So if you might go from 400 to 350. But what this means is you're saving anywhere from 300 to north of $1,000 in property taxes every year. And it really depends on the county that you're in. Every county operates a little differently, and also the value of your home, so and the corresponding tax rates. Um, yes, the reviews do speak for themselves. We have great customer service and experience. Over 90% of our customers renew with us every single year. So we've built a lot of brand loyalty and trust with our customers. They like the service we provide. They like the contingency fee that we don't charge anything up front. Um, and and so it's really a no-brainer. People see this as a insurance policy to make sure that they're never overpaying for any of these homeowner related expenses. I see a question from Vivian. Uh, so other than the upfront fee, the no upfront fee, what differentiates you from other tax protest companies? Great question. We believe that we have the easiest, seamless digital experience out there with some of the lowest contingency fees as well. There are a lot of firms that will charge anywhere from 30 to 50% of savings. So we really try to be competitive on the savings front, and really just make it as easy and quick and painless as possible. I'd say another key differentiator is just the add-on services that we provide that I mentioned earlier. So helping with exemption filing, helping with bill reductions. We have other information in our portal, so things like neighborhood crime reports, permits, um, If you have a mortgage, you can input your mortgage information, and we have a refinance calculator there. So if we, think that you can save by refinancing, we will kind of share that with you as well. So we're trying to expand and really be a holistic home expense management tool for homeowners.
And Julian, there was one other question about Williamson County on the previous slide, just why they had a lower success rate or reduction rate in your experience.
Yeah, so Julian, I can speak to that.
Yeah.
This is Sam here on the call from Ownwell. Williamson is a notoriously difficult county, and in my experience, I mean, to give them all the credit that's due, they are one of the counties that has their stuff together the most, if you'd like to say it that way. And so, they are an IAAO, which is an appraisal designation that's sought after in the industry, and so their values are close to where they are supposed to be. And so while we're there in Williamson, we truly are fighting for pennies, but we're fighting for the difference that may make that incremental savings at the end of the year. And so while the success rate is lower, while the percentage reductions are lower, that's actually pretty competitive with what we see in Williamson. And I'd invite anybody to shop around for our competitors and see what the success rates and percentage reductions are. But that's pretty standard in Williamson. And while they do differ greatly from what we see in other counties, that is pretty in line with what we can expect there. And so even though there's not much savings to reap there because they are so close to their values, we still will go the extra mile to try and obtain those additional savings for homeowners, even if it's not that much at the end of the day.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. Sam, I will hand it over to you. We have a few slides here on just sort of the uh, more detailed tax protests and some deadlines to keep in mind.
Yeah, definitely. So, for those of you that joined late to the call or even that didn't get an intro in the beginning, I'm Sam. I'm the senior property tax manager at Ownwell. Currently, I oversee about 150,000 residential and commercial appeals across 7 states. I've been in the industry for a little over a decade now in various capacities, be it on the administrative side, on the operations side, and now on the consulting side. And so previously, I worked at one of our largest competitors in the consulting business, and I during my time there, I specialized in commercial property tax appeals. Before I jump in, I want to address Vivian's question because I don't think we entirely did it justice. Vivian in the chat asked that other than no upfront fee, what differentiates Ownwell from other tax protest companies? And I think we're being very modest about it. Other than the very aggressive contingency fee that you can expect come the invoice, that is one of the lowest, if not the lowest, that you will see in the industry. Now, coming from one of our largest competitors, I can tell you that they were charging double what we were on the residential side. And so, our overall mission at the end of the day is to make the cost of real estate ownership more clear and equitable, and, we breathe life into that by democratizing access to real estate expertise, keeping these contingency costs low. So that way, no matter what your status is, no matter what your class is, how much money you make, you can afford to, have these tools available to your disposal and be able to manage your investment responsibly. And so not only do we save you time, not only do we have the best contingency fee on the market, but with the roster of consultants that we've built, we have a combined experience of over 500 years. That's real estate, that's appraisal, that's consulting. And so not only is that direct experience, but that's experience in relationship building, in knowing the nuances of the appraisal review board of the county and any other things that come into play. And we can build support for those nuances between the counties and save you the most important thing that's the most valuable to you at the end of the day, which is time. Because I had heard Matt allude to, you can do this maybe in 3 to 5 hours total over the course of the season, But respectfully, I disagree. You could take 3 to 5 hours preparing your case, but you could go to the hearing and expect to spend hours, actually, maybe even take the whole day off waiting for them to call you into the appraisal review board. And so I think 3 to 5 hours is safe to assume that if you settle informally, that's what that would encompass. But going to the board is an entirely different level. And our consultants are staffed and ready to do so to get you the best value possible. And so it's a great question, Vivian, because I hear it all the time and I love answering it because I'm so passionate about what it is that we do here. Now, moving on to the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, I like to start here because I don't know how many folks actually know that this exists. The Bill of Rights is available on the comptroller's website. It lists everything that is entitled to you, based on the Constitution, based on the property tax code. And essentially, it guarantees things like transparency, equal treatment, and the right to protest unfair valuations. And like I said, I don't know how many folks actually understand, how many people actually understand that they have these rights. And that's where we as Ownwell come in as a trusted advisor, and that's where we can make the real difference on your behalf. And I think the other important thing to note here is that a lot of folks don't know that there is remedies or recourse to a violation of these rights. And so, whether it be complaining to the taxpayer liaison and getting those complaints filed at the comptroller level, filing limited binding arbitration for procedural violations, filing regular binding arbitration for value related issues, and even going as far as filing litigation for value related issues. And so there's a lot of things that come into play here behind the Bill of Rights that Ownwell will act on your behalf if these rights are violated, and we're very much prepared to do so. And I won't go through each one of these individually, but I think the more important ones to note here are: you have the right to equal and uniform taxation. You have the right to fair treatment. You have the right to be notified if the rates are going to be increased, et cetera, et cetera. And the last important one is you have the right to inspect non-confidential information used to appraise your property. And so the code actually dictates that by law, we are able to receive and inspect evidence that's going to be used at the hearing. And so I just want to make sure that at the end of the day, even if you don't use Ownwell to protest, or you don't choose to go with any other consultant and you do it yourself, that you have the tools necessary to feel empowered, to feel confident going in and protesting your hearing and taking it all the way to the formal level, and even if beyond, if need be. And so this is here for your reference. I'm very passionate about the Bill of Rights, and I hope that folks understand that there are remedies to the rights if they are violated. We can go to the next slide, Julian.
Thanks, Sam. And maybe we have one question that came through Kim a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Does the assessed value ever increase after a protest causing a higher bill?
That's an amazing question. And so, no, by law, the counties and the appraisal review boards can't increase the value as the result of a protest. So at the very worst case scenario is that your value doesn't change at all. It stays the same. And the best case scenario is that it goes down, and you may recognize some savings at the end of the year. It's a great question. Thanks for asking. But legally, they can't increase it as a result of a protest.
Awesome.
So
Thank
it's
you.
no harm, no risk. I encourage everyone to protest every year. Okay. Just interrupt me if there are any more questions.
Yeah.
So at a very high level, the property tax calendar is divided into 4 equal parts. The first part takes place between January and May. Now, during this time, the appraisal districts are gathering data, they're conducting analysis, they're doing site inspections, administering applications, so on and so forth. During this quarter, this is also the time that notice of values will hit mailboxes. And so That's why this is so relevant, because I'm sure if you haven't within the past couple of days, you will surely in the next couple of days receive a notice of value to what your property or what the district thinks your property is valued at as of January 1 of 2025. And so this is a very important period because it's the preface of what is about to take place, which is the equalization phase. Now, during the equalization phase, hundreds of thousands of protests are being filed, are being heard. This is when appeals are being heard informally. And we'll go into more details about what that entails a little later. If they are unsuccessful informally, they'll be heard at the formal level. And at the end of this phase, this is when the ARB will certify the records, which then become the roll. The chief appraiser will then take the roll and hand it over to the taxing entities, which then kicks off the assessment phase. During this time, the entities receive the roll, they adopt the budgets, tax bills go out, and also at this time, because it is on the tail end of the equalization phase, litigation filings tick up, arbitration filings tick up. So this is when we start to see the post-administrative hearing season start to tick up, because by law, if you're unsatisfied with the determination from the appraisal review board, you can escalate that to be heard further. And so we'll cover a little bit more about what that entails a little later on, but just know that that remedy is available to you. Now, after the assessment phase, typically bills go out, tax bills go out October 1. That then kicks off the collection phase. And during this time, folks are getting their bills, they're paying their bills, and taxes become delinquent on February 1. And so that is essentially the life cycle of the property tax calendar and what you can expect during any given quarter of the year. And so if you're wondering where you are in that quarter, we are very much so on the heels of the equalization phase, which is why it's so important that you keep an eye out for those notices, that you know what your rights are, that you can protest, and what a protest entails. And so at a very high level, that is what the property tax calendar entails. I'm good to go to the next slide, Julian. Now, some key things to keep in mind when protesting. Now, what can be protested? I'll show you an example of what a protest form looks like here on the next slide. But the most common reasons that you'll find a protest being filed are the ones highlighted in green on the top left side. So the value the appraisal district placed on the property is too high. This is what's known as a market protest. By looking at the sales, you realize, hey, I'm out of line. I need to protest this. The second reason is the property is unequally appraised. Now, this is another important reason to protest because it is a remedy extended to us from the Constitution, from the property tax code that says, I cannot be taxed higher than my neighbor. And so we'll talk about official approaches to value in the next couple slides, but just know that equity is available to you. And essentially what that is comparing neighboring properties in the same neighborhood that haven't sold with similar characteristics. We'll go over some examples here shortly, but just know the difference between market and equity is that market is going to look at sales that happened within the appropriate valuation period. Equity is going to look at comps that haven't sold that are similar and you can be compared to. So just if you recognize those differences, you can be successful in the appeal. Those are the two most important reasons why you would protest. There's also a variety of other reasons why you would protest, such as, if you're denied your homestead exemption, you're entitled to be notified by the chief appraiser and entitled to appeal that decision. Determination of ownership, and any other action that adversely affects the owner. There are a variety of reasons here that you can protest. If you're unsure and you're doing this yourself, I recommend doing the value of the appraisal district placed on the property is too high, property is unequally appraised, and that any other action that adversely affects the owner, those are the reasons that you select. Those cast a wide umbrella or a wide net, and you're able to pretty much cover the extent of what you're looking to argue. Now, who can protest? The person that owns the property, that person that has a contractual obligation to the property, a lessee, somebody who acts as a power of attorney, and last but not least, an agent representing any of the parties listed above. So that's where Ownwell comes into play. I can't just file a protest on your property without being authorized. And so even if I file a protest without that authorization, I cannot act on your behalf. So you're protected in that way. So just know there is a comptroller promulgated form that when you engage us for services, it is filled out, you sign it, state what date the authorization ends, and that's what gives us authority to act on your behalf. And so should you not choose to go and do it yourself, that is the way that you can expect that Ownwell will handle it by authorization from you. Now, the last step here is how can you protest? You can file by mail, you can file it electronically, and after you do that, it will kick off this equalization period, right? That we covered in the last slide. It starts the informal hearing. It starts the formal hearing. So if you're unsuccessful at the informal, it goes to the board or the formal, and that is a quasi judicial setting. That's where the time drags out. You may be waiting in the lobby for hours. They even keep agents waiting in the lobby for hours. And so that's why I say it's not just the 3 to 5 hours it takes to prep your case, it's the additional hours it takes to actually hear your case. And so, you may take half a day, a whole day off to do this, and God forbid anything happen, and you have to get that hearing rescheduled. And so time is one thing we can't get back that you can't get back. And so it's super important to consider this when thinking about how you're going to pursue the appeal moving forward. And as I had said, if you're unsatisfied with the determination at the formal level or at the appraisal review board, you have the option to arbitrate or litigate. Now, generally, you have to do so no more than 60 days after the date on the official board order. Now, when you do the hearing, the county will send you what's called an order determining protest, or what's known as a board order. The date on that form, 60 days from there, is your deadline to escalate. These entail two different things, be it arbitration or litigation. So understand those differences and what they entail, but just know that you have the right to escalate if need be. And so I'll close here. Thanks for giving me your time. So the two different proposals here between the different chambers are: the Senate is proposing an increase in homestead exemption from $100,000 to $140,000. And as the analysis is taking place right now, that should save homeowners approximately $363. Now, the House is proposing rate compression, sending money to the school districts to keep rates stagnant or low, so that way those are reflected on the tax bills, and also extending increased exemptions for business personal property owners, which if you're a commercial property owner, that will affect you. On the next slide, as of late March, they've agreed to incorporating $6.5 billion for new property tax cuts in their budgets. And I think the main point of contention here is going to be the remaining $3.5 billion. It's subject to negotiations. They don't know where it's going to go yet or how it's going to be allocated. So, there's a variety of resources that are available to folks out there to be able to research this. And I think the difference here is just understanding what the difference is between what the Senate is saying, what the House is saying. But generally, property tax relief is a hot political issue. It's talked about every legislative session, and it impacts a lot of folks here in the state of Texas. And so I like to conclude with that to make sure that folks know that it's being talked about, and that we'll see possibly something hit the ballot boxes in November. And that's all from me. Thanks.